Hello and welcome to the Beer Jerk Beer of the Week Drink Along. I'm Luke and this week we are drinking Yeehaw from Rhyme and Reason, which is a habanero Saison. Rhyme and Reason are a really cool little brewery in one of the most beautiful places in the world, down in Wanaka. If you have not visited, you definitely should put it on your list of places to go and visit, because Wanaka is spectacular. There's just incredible mountains there and lakes, really wonderful place. And amongst it all is the town of Wanaka, which has a road with a couple of really good breweries on. So there's Rhyme and Reason, and over the road is Ground Up. And they're in just sort of an industrial little area of the town. And it's a wonderful little brew pub, and they're a real part of the community. They have all kinds of events going on there. I've only visited once, but I'm really looking forward to getting back down there again. Cheers, everybody. And Rhyme and Reason is Jess, who's the brewer, and her partner Simon, who's does all sorts, but he's a very talented engineer, and actually he started a company which fabricates canning lines. So there's quite a few brewers around New Zealand and around Australia that use his canning line, and obviously this beer was canned on one of his canning lines. This is it's quite a spicy little Saison. I think a lot of you, I don't know. I always try and guess whether people are going to like a beer or not. I think this beer is going to have a lot of fans. Jess was saying that in their taproom this caused some waves when they launched it, and it was just brewed as a one-off, and then people just demanded that that they keep it on tap, so they've kept brewing it. And I'm very happy to see it in cans now, because it's a beer that I really like. It's got a really nice spicy little kick to it. And it is a Saison, which is a beer style that you've probably had before. Saisons have become pretty popular in recent years. The style goes back well over a century in Wallonia, which is now part of Belgium. Belgium has three quite distinct areas that have their own separate governments and languages. So you've got the Brussels region, which is famous for lambic especially. And you've got Gers and those sort of spontaneously fermented beers there. You've got Flanders, which is where wits come from. So last week we had a really tasty wit, not from Flanders, but that style. And obviously Flanders Reds and Oud Brewing come from there. And Wallonia is famous for Saisons, but they were also brewed, this style of beer was brewed all around Northern Europe. And in France they had Grisette, which is and also Belgium actually. It's all a bit of a murky history. It sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about, which there may be some truth in that, but also it's a pretty murky history as to the actual history of Saison and of Grisette, which is basically the same but a little bit stronger and linked to miners rather than farm workers. Saison means season, and it's a beer that would have been brewed at farmhouses for the farm workers to drink. So a really refreshing but hearty ale that will be just the ticket after spending long hours working in the fields in the hot sunshine. And Saisons would have been made with grain, barley and wheat that would be grown on the farms. So yeah, each Saison, each farmhouse ale would have been really quite different, depending on the terroir of what was being grown and just the recipes from the brewers at these farmhouses. So yeah, I really would love to travel back in time and have a little tour and visit these different farms and regions. Because from one farm to the next, you get such different beers, and that's something that these days in our world of globalization is easy to forget and overlook and not really think about. That people didn't used to travel, and as much as when you go to Belgium, it's a tiny country and it's just so quick to just speed along from area to area when you're in your car or on the train. But 150 years ago, people didn't really travel to different areas, and for New Zealanders often it's kind of hard to explain. Accents are a real key part of it. So if you think about in England, you have Liverpool and Manchester that are 30 miles apart, but think about a Liverpudlian accent and a Manchester Mancunian accent. They're just so drastically different because people weren't going to these different places, which is why you've got a small, tiny country of Belgium that has such a rich history of beer. Just all the styles I just mentioned. I didn't even mention well, the lagers and pilsners that have been popular in the last century that aren't from Belgium, but beers like triples and quadruples and Belgian strong ales and golden ales and Belgian brown ales. And anyway, this beer is started life as a Saison, and it was dosed up with a lot of habanero. It's got when I talk about spice, I'm generally talking about spice as in herbs and spices. So a spice is seed or bark or a woody part of a plant, as opposed to herbs, which are the leaves. And so the spicy character, the sort of the esters, the phenols that you get in a beer like this come from the yeast that does the interesting things when it's converting the sugars into alcohol. So it's got those spicy characteristics, but along with the spicy in terms of hot heat spice that you get from chili peppers. So it's a good amount of habanero in here. I think it may be a little bit too spicy for some if you're a person that really cannot handle any spice, but I think for the vast majority of drinkers, they're going to get a real kick out of this. It's, yeah, beautiful, round, soft body. It's just, yeah, I'd love to try this without the heat of the habanero, because I think it would also be delicious. But I really think Jess has done a great job in just crafting a beer that's the heat does not overwhelm the beer at all. It absolutely complements it. It adds to it. It elevates it. This is going to be a really fun beer to pair with food. But yeah, I can see why the locals love it. I can definitely imagine this being one of my favourites if I was a regular at their tap room and just wanted to drink it again and again. It's not a silly nonsense beer that you sometimes do come across. I'm saying silly nonsense. What I'm meaning is, I suppose, a lot of brewers release beers that are novelties, and myself included. Absolutely, beers that are designed to be drunk once, to have a fun time, and not again. But this is it's a beer that I could definitely keep coming back to. So great work, Byron Bay, and thanks for making a cracking beer. I'm looking forward to drinking more of your stuff, as now a lot more of the beer is in cans, thanks to good old Simon and his canning line. News from Beer Jerk. I'm here at the Fridge and Flagon. If you've not been to the Fridge and Flagon, you should change that. Come visit us. We're open Fridays and Saturdays now on Auckland's Beer Mile in Eden Terrace. We've always got interesting stuff going on, great beers pouring. We've got the Auckland Fresh Hop Festival, so put that in your diaries. That's happening on April 22nd. So you definitely do not want to miss out on Auckland Fresh Hop. And also we've got the Fresh Hop boxes at Beer Jerk. So they're selling pretty quick, and we've actually got a restricted number of those. It's a limited amount that we're able to pull together. So the Fresh Hop whole harvest box that we have is 24 different fresh hop beers that we've pulled together from, the one, obviously we haven't tasted them, so we're sort of going in blind. Generally when we do beer buying, we've tasted and tried the beers. But we've got a pretty good idea of who's brewing what and what to expect based on all the previous fresh hop boxes that we pulled together from the different breweries. So we reckon these are going to be the 24 best fresh hop beers that are out. And it's pretty much the only way you're going to be able to get your hands on them, because a lot of them are really small batches. A lot are going to be sold just directly to the breweries. So if you want to get a good taste of the whole harvest, all 24 beers, you should order that pretty quickly before they finish. And if you don't want all 24, we've also got the lupulus box and the humulus box, which it's a split half, so they're two different 12 packs. So you can find those on the Beer Jerk website. I'm going to go and carry on enjoying this beer. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being part of the Beer Jerk journey, and cheers to Rhyme and Reason.